Hello, everyone. My name is Ines. Welcome to the first video in a series of IELTS General Reading tips. Today, we're going to start with the first practice test on the platform. And before we do that, I would like to show you a few general tips that you should keep at the back of your mind when you're doing the reading tests, and they're basically not too difficult to follow. You just have to remember them when you're doing the exercise to give you speed and accuracy at the same time. So the first point I would like you to remember is that you have to master synonyms, because it is often the case that you would read a question with particular types of words, but when you go to the text to look for these words, you would find, in most cases, synonyms. There are actually three different levels in keywords identification in the text. You can see exactly the same word, which I would say is also quite often on the IELTS general reading section. You could also have the synonyms, which I've mentioned, which is probably the most common. And then there's actually also a third level, which is quite seldom, but you still have it in some texts. And this level is interpretation. So you would not see any direct versions of the word, and you will not see synonyms or related words. You will need to interpret a portion of the text in line with the question. That is the most difficult, because if you cannot identify the keyword that you highlighted in the question, then you have a problem actually figuring out where do you even begin to interpret the text from. So, but the good news is more often it is about synonyms, so you do not need to worry. So try and master synonyms. And yeah, so if you learn the new vocabulary, do not just learn the meaning, learn the synonyms, different one or two synonyms to it. The second point I will mention is your answer can always be supported by a sentence or two in the text, okay? So this is really important. Your answer can be supported by a sentence or two in the text. So do not pick an answer if you do not have any supporting sentence in the text. Third point, follow a systematic approach. A systematic approach, I've touched on it in the beginning. This is first keywords identification in the question. Secondly, you want to find the keywords in the text, and you want to make sure you locate most of all the keywords, if not all of them. Okay, try to locate as many keywords as possible, and we'll look at how to do that. And you also want to highlight the sentence that contains most or all your keywords. So after you found them in the text, highlight the whole sentence after you've highlighted the keywords. When you have done that, the answer to the question you're looking at could be in that sentence, could be in the sentence before it, or it could be in the sentence that comes after it. However, always start with that sentence with most of the keywords and then work your way outside. Okay, so with the sentence, start with the keywords, and then you look at the sentence before, you look at the sentence after. That is if you don't find any relationship between that sentence and your question. Read very fast, okay? So the focus is to scan for the keywords once you've highlighted them. There are actually three levels of reading, or three speeds when it comes to reading. You actually have skimming, you've got scanning, and then you've got close reading. The problem with skimming in the IELTS is that you may miss information, because skimming is like you read for general information, but the keyword strategy is specific. You're actually looking for specific keywords. So you don't want to do a skimming. You might miss these keywords. And you also don't want to do a close reading, because you don't have time for a full text. You've got only 20 minutes. And you don't have time to read and understand everything. Your best friend is scanning, and scanning means you read at a pace not too slow and also not too fast, because you're looking for the keywords. All right. So let's go to the first practice test, and then we're going to look at, I'm going to do all questions on that practice test. So this video is going to be relatively long. Typically the first video is long because I deal with, we look at all questions and look at all types of questions that you're probably likely to see. And then in the next videos, I will sort of select sample questions that we'll do, and then the rest you figure out on your own. So we're going to take a look at the practice test 1. So I've got to change the screen sharing to the PDF in a jiffy. So no, if I can, okay, there we go. You should see the PDF now. So this PDF is actually the practice test 1 on the platform. When you go to IELTS, and then you also go to on the left pane, you've got the different sections. You've got reading general. Okay, that's where you find this PDF. So I've just downloaded it and then gone through all the questions for you. And we're actually going to apply the systematic approach that I talked about. Okay, so the first thing you do when immediately you're allowed to start the exam is first read the title of the text. Okay, so in this case, how to become a successful crime writer. Once you've done that, do not bother reading through the whole text because you will need about 5 to 10 minutes for that. So you jump to the question, and then you highlight keywords from there, and then you start reading the text. That is very important. That's the trick I've been using over the years, telling my students, and they've gone and they've done a good job on the exam. So I believe it works. There are a lot of information out there that you can start with the passage, read the passage before you read the question, and come to the passage. But guess what? If you read the text first, you go to the question. When you read the question, you come back again to the passage because you wouldn't remember everything you read. So you'll still need to go back to the question. So you would have done the double. So why don't you just go ahead and do the question directly? So with that, if you do a good keywords identification and selection job, that should work perfectly for you. So the first so this the first type of question that you can get a true or false or not giving questions, and this is probably the most difficult part for most students. True questions are okay because often they're very, what you see in the question and also what you see in the text are related. The problems are actually with the false and not giving sentence. Sometimes you think something is false, but then it's not giving, and then something is not given, but then it's false. So I will show you the trick to differentiate between the two. So false means that it contradicts the information. What does contradict mean? Contradict means that it's the opposite of what you see in the text. Okay, it's the opposite of what you see. If the question says A, what you see in the text is B, and we'll look at these given cases. Not giving. So with not giving questions, you have to be very careful because you've got a few keywords in the question that you're likely to see in the text. However, and this is the main point, the main idea in the question is not expressed in the text. The main idea is not expressed in the text, all right? So do not jump to conclusion and say, oh, I see a few keywords, so the answer is in the text. It's not. You really want to make sure that the main idea is in the text, and that's what we're going to take a look at today. So number one, we've got the question, so famous were the fictional characters of Conan Doyle and Christie's crime novels that they eclipsed the fame of their authors. All right. So for me, keywords, and I'll show you what are keywords and what are not keywords. So famous, okay. Always if you have this adjectival group, you've got this adverb of degree and then you've got an adjective, you always want to highlight it because you're looking at a description for a particular thing. And then you've got fictional characters that sticks out, and then you've got two names, Conan Doyle and Christie. Okay, these are very specific words for the question. And so what you don't want to highlight are words in the title of the essay. So in this case, crime. Okay, so you've got the word crime in the heading, so you don't want to highlight crime. The reason is that a word in the title will appear quite a lot of times in the text. Okay, so if you go highlight crime, then you need to highlight crimes everywhere in the text and you wouldn't even know where to begin with. There are some cases when they're useful, but generally avoid highlighting keywords in the question. And eclipse is a word that sticks out, fame is a word that sticks out, and then authors is a word that sticks out. So we go to the text and then we try to figure out where these words are. As I said, try to locate most of the keywords, okay? So we go to the text, and for this question, I actually find it, you start reading from the beginning, scanning. So I find the two names, Arthur Conan Doyle, and then Agatha Christie. And then you've got the word synonymous, you've got the word celebrity status, and then you've got the fictional characters. All right, remember, these are the keywords that we had. Celebrity status, so famous. All right, we've got that. Fictional characters, we've got it. We've got the two names, okay? And now the key information here is that the characters that the authors produced actually became more famous. So eclipsed the fame of the authors means they became more famous than the authors. But so we've highlighted our keywords. So as I said, you start with the sentence that contains most of your keywords, and this is that sentence. Okay, so this whole sentence is what we're going to take a look at first. If we do not find anything related to the question, then we'll look at the sentence before and the sentence after, but you always want to start with the sentence that contains your keywords. So we read in this sentence, let's read it. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Agatha Christie for some are synonymous with the genre, attaining the same celebrity status as their fictional creations. Do you see that? So already, what can you say about this? Were the characters that the authors created more famous than they were, or what does the text say? So this is clearly a false statement, okay? Because here we've got the reason attaining the same celebrity status, okay? Same celebrity status, and that is what you should watch it about. The question says that the fictional characters were more famous, so eclipsed the fame of their authors, but the text is saying that the authors were as equally famous as their fictional creation. So that is something that contradicts the text. It's the opposite of what's in the text. So it is false, all right? So, but important is that you follow the systematic approach, highlight your keywords, come to the text, figure out most of them, and start with the sentence that contains most of your keywords. If you're lucky, the answer will be there. If you're not, look at the sentence before or the sentence after. In our case now, the answer was actually in the same sentence with most of our keywords. And notice how false statements are, right? It's the opposite. It contradicts what is in the text. So number two, the novels of Conan Doyle and Christie are less accomplished than those of modern writers. All right, so for me, the words novel is a keyword. Again, the author's names are keywords. Less accomplished. So also want to take note of the comparatives and superlative adjectives. They're always keywords, okay? Because in the text, you could have the other party, the other side. If it's comparative, you could have superlative or the vice versa, okay? So you always want to highlight comparative and superlative group of adjectives. So less accomplished is a keyword. Than, we know than introduces or is a key component of the comparative adjective, so we highlight it. And then modern crime writers. Okay, I did not highlight crime writers because in the text we're looking at how to become a successful crime writer. So the likelihood that the word crime writers will appear several times in the text is really, really, really high, a lot of times. So we leave it out. So with my keywords, novel, the author's names, less accomplished, than, and modern, I go to the text and then I try to figure out my keywords. And here I see in the sentence that comes actually right after the one we read, and this is also something that you will meet a lot of times, that you should always move on from where you left off to answer the previous question. Okay, so with question number 2, you don't go back and read anything, you move on from the last sentence. Okay, so that's something that you would meet quite often. Of course, sometimes you'll need to come back depending on the type of questions to read the beginning. But when you start with the set, always move on and then figure out the answer from starting from previous sentences. So the sentence after that says, in the creation of such memorable characters, these two authors raised the bar for future crime fiction writers. Okay, so I believe I found my keywords here because these two authors refer to Conan Doyle and then Christie, all right? And then future fiction writers. So when we go to the question again, we see future, which is kind of modern, all right? So in their time, for them, it was future, but now it's modern. So this is related to the word future. So now what's the key idea here? The key idea is that these two authors are less accomplished, okay? So less accomplished. I want to pinpoint here that highlight most keywords that you see, especially for these set of questions. You will have some keywords that will not be there because they're expressing the idea in the question, which you will need to compare to what the sentence says. The same is what we found here. Eclipse the fame of their authors in number 1, all right, was the key idea that we needed to compare to what the statement was saying. So here the key idea is less accomplished than. So obviously by now you should have seen that the two authors were not less accomplished, because look here, it says they raised the bar. Okay, so they raised the bar for future crime fiction writers. All right, so what does raise the bar mean? Okay, it means that they determine the standard, and if somebody determines a standard, of course that person is not less accomplished than the person who uses that standard. Okay, in fact, you've got whoever set the bar is the more accomplished one. All right, the role model. So clearly this statement again is false. Okay, it is false. It is not true, and you cannot also say that it's not given because there is information on this in the text. They raised the bar, they set the standard, and so it means they were actually the role models and they were more accomplished than the modern crime writers. So this statement is also false. Okay, do you see that? All right, we go to number 3. Number 3 says it is more challenging to portray fictional than real life characters in a novel. All right, so our keywords, remember, comparative, superlative groups here. We've got more challenging, that's a comparative group. All right, that is a good keyword to highlight. You've got the word portray that sticks out. You've got the word fictional that sticks out. Than belonging to the comparative phrase, real life characters, and then in a novel. These are all keywords. So we go to the text, and I must say you will read and read and read and read. You will not actually even find any information on this. Okay, so you should have continued from this site, and you will read and read. You will try scanning for the keywords. The only time you will come across these keywords, which is more fictional real life characters. So you've got real life characters here in tip 5. Okay, so they say truth is stranger than fiction, so why not look to real life events to inspire you A rummage through a few local and national papers may uncover a potential storyline. That really has nothing to do with the statement. It is more challenging to portray fictional than real life characters in a novel. Okay, so I found a few set of keywords, which is real life events or real life people, but the sentence does not say anything about whether or not it's challenging to use fictional than real life characters. So that's what I talked about, that not giving questions, you would find a few, 1, 2 keywords, but the main idea is missing. And so this statement is not giving, all right? Go through the text and you will see that it's not giving. In number 4, we've got to write about modern crime detection techniques. Some knowledge of forensics may be required. So my keywords are to, and always if you've got to in a question, highlight it because it expresses reason for something, all right? In this context, because you've always got to also, for example, in this question 8, you've got able to guess, okay? In this context, in number 8, I'm here right now, to, okay? This to is not a keyword because it's just an infinitive particle, okay? It's to eat, to go, to guess. It's not important. However, here, this to is, it introduces the reason for something. So it's really important that you highlight it. Modern detection techniques, crime is not part, you already know. Some knowledge of forensics may be required, and also pay attention to modal verbs. These are really important. Anytime you come across modal verbs, they're always keywords. Highlight them. So modal verbs are words like may, might, can, could, should, must, need to, and so on. Okay, these small words that express possibilities, obligations, permissions, and so on and so forth. The reason they're always keywords is because they like to be reformulated a lot. Okay, so instead of may, you're looking at a possibility. So the question might say it is possible, or could. Yeah, so may, might, could, can, these are possibility modal verbs. Must is obligation, should, recommendation, and typically in the text, if you're not lucky to see them exactly as the same words, they would be replaced with their reformulated version. So highlight them always as keywords. May be required, that is also a keyword. So we go to the text and then we try to figure out, it's all gone live all of a sudden, okay. We try to figure out the keywords. So I read on from where I left off to answer question number 2. I read on, and I get to this point where I see some of my keywords, in fact, most of them. So I've got knowledgeable, modern detection methods, and the word forensic, okay? So I've identified majority of my keywords, the most important ones. So I start with that sentence, and that sentence says, if on the other hand, you're using a contemporary setting, then ensure you're fully knowledgeable of modern high-tech detection methods and forensic techniques. Do you see that? So it already sounds like this statement is true, okay? Why is it true? And I just intentionally left out the modal verb may because it's been reformulated. Like I said, it's been reformulated. So we've got all the other keywords: modern, detection techniques, some knowledge, we've got it, knowledgeable, we've got forensics, all right? Required, it's also there. What about may? Okay, so let's go to the tense sentence and take a few seconds and then try and figure out the keywords may and also required. Okay, take about 5 seconds, try and figure out where the keyword may and require is in this sentence. Okay, so it's for the may so let's start with required. Required is easy to see, okay? Sorry about that. So there's this word here, ensure. Okay, you want to ensure that you're fully knowledgeable. It means that the knowledge is required, okay? And sure, that is really important. If you're a German speaker, you would probably say vergewissen. Yeah, that's what you would say. And sure, required. What about the may? So the may is actually expressed with the if sentence here, okay? You may need some knowledge of the detection methods. And the question starts with if you're using a contemporary setting. In this case, that is where you need it. Okay, so the may expresses cases where it is possible or you have to use something, and it's expressed with the sentence if. Okay, so no, modal verbs are very tricky because they can be reformulated in so many ways. That's why you always want to have them as keywords. So the long story short, this statement is actually true. Okay, so there's really not a lot of discussion about this. It's actually there. That sentence we read supports this statement. Number 5, would-be crime authors should always write about their own life experiences. So would be, that's a good keyword. Should is a modal verb, so highlight it. Always, and the frequency adverbs. So if you've got words like always, never, sometimes, should, seldom, rarely, hardly, never. These are always keywords, okay? Because they show degrees of frequency. And so if in the text you see always, if in the question you see always, but in the text you see never, all right, then you're actually looking at an opposite case, and so it's going to be a false statement. So take note of frequency adverbs. They're always keywords as well. And then own life experiences. So basically the recommendation is that those who want to be crime writers should always write about their own life experiences. So let's go to the text and see if we can figure out the keywords. So I read through the text, and this is where tip 5 is where we've got to talk about real life events, and then the fact that you should the talk about using real life events. So the first sentence with some of the keywords says, they say truth is stranger than fiction, so why not look to real life events to inspire you? Before this sentence, you actually have the sentence lacking inspiration. It's a question. What does that tell you? Lacking inspiration. It's probably difficult to see as a beginner, all right? But lacking inspiration, the author is asking a question here. And he goes on to talk about what you should do if you lack inspiration. So it's actually not always, he's not saying that you should always look to real life events, but you should only do so in the case that you lack inspiration. Do you see that? You probably did not see. It's quite difficult to see, but this is it. All right. I had to take a few minutes to really analyze this well. But this is how, you go about it. That's why I said the frequency adverbs are always keywords. So highlight them, and then you want to make sure that they fit the context. Okay. So it's only saying that in the case that you lack inspiration, you should look to real life events. However, the statement is saying that if you should always write about their own life experiences. That is not correct, and that is wrong, okay? And you go on, you also see roommates through a few local and national papers may uncover a potential storyline, all right? Real life people, so these are all some keywords that you can find, but they wouldn't help you. It's just the opposite of what you see is in the text. Besides, it's not even mentioning your own life experience. Okay, so that's one thing. You've got two reasons why this statement is false. First of all, it's only in cases when you lack inspiration that you can turn to real life events, and real life events means can include your own personal life, but it's not directly stated. Okay, so it's actually false. It contradicts the information that you have in the text. Number 6, characters based on real life people is a practice best avoided. So my keywords are characters based on real life people, practice best avoided. Okay, so I go to the text and then I read. And if you have, sometimes if you're lucky, one sentence could also apply to 2 questions, just like in this case. All right. So we've got a sentence talking about real life events, and the same keywords for the next question appears in the sentence. And already, if you paid good attention, you would have seen that that statement is false, because the statement here is saying that if you base characters on real life people, or basing characters on real life people is a practice you should not do. Okay, practice best avoided. But the sentence that we read here is that actually, if you lack inspiration, you can use real life events. And what does real life events mean? That you, in the end, you end up using real life people. Okay, so we see the statement, the keywords real life people here. The sentence says, it goes without saying that a degree of fictional embellishment of real life people is necessary to avoid being accused of libel and sudden curtailing of an otherwise budding career. Okay, so this sentence departs from this sentence and say that, okay, you can use, or in cases where you lack inspiration, use real life events and people, however, just embellish them. So it did not say you should avoid it. It is just saying that you should package the whole story in such a way that it doesn't really point directly to other people. So embellish means that you decorate it in a way that you hide the true identity of the people. But in the essence of it is you can't use real life people. So that statement about avoiding the use of real life people is wrong. Okay, so it's completely false. See that? 7, first-time crime authors may be turned down by publishers. So my keywords are first time, modal verb may, turn down, and then by publishers. And then I go on from where I read the sentence to the previous question. So I start reading from tip 6, and lo and behold, you've got this statement that says, should you fail to find a publisher? So I've got my keyword publisher, and then you've got the word turn down, okay, which is similar to here. Actually, it's direct. You've got the same phrase here, turn down, turn down. And so what are you waiting for? Okay, and then you've got the question, the statement, should you fail to find a publisher, keep trying. Okay, so, and that actually, that first time is an interpretation part. So basically, should you fail to find a publisher, the whole text is about how to begin to become a writer. And so should you fail to find a publisher, that means your first time trying to find a publisher. Okay, so this is a sentence that we need. What does this sentence say? We compare this one. We actually have 2. Remember, I said you can always support a sentence with a question with 1 or 2 sentences. So we've got these 2 sentences, okay? After all, some of the most celebrated authors were initially turned down on their first attempt. So we actually have the word first here. Either by interpretation or by, you see direct statement of the phrase here. So the statement is actually true. Statement 7 is true because you may be turned down and it can happen, which is the should. Okay, so the may is expressed by the word should, these 2 modal verbs. Statement 8, seasoned crime novel readers like being able to guess the culprit in advance. Okay, so this is kind of tricky because initially I said you always move on from the sentence. And it actually works because remember our last question, we used this statement to answer and the text has finished. So where do you go to look for the next statement? Obviously, you start from the beginning of the text. Okay, so that is, if you have this case, just go ahead and start from the beginning of the text again. So you read, if you did a good job scanning in the first 7 questions, you should even remember where the statement is likely to be addressed in the text. But I go on reading, and then in tip 1, I see the words experienced armchair detectives, okay, for corresponding to the words seasoned novel readers. Do you see that? Experienced means seasoned. And then the key idea here is that they like being able to guess the corporate in advance. So let's see what it says here, if that's what they like. So the sentence with this keyword says, after all, even the experienced armchair detective likes to be kept guessing until the end. This statement in the text turned the whole, the complete statement in the question on its head. And so obviously you can guess the answer right now that the question is not, the statement is false, okay? Seasoned crime novel readers do not like being able to guess. They prefer to actually be kept guessing until the end. They don't want to know, okay? They don't want to be able to guess when they start reading. They want to be able to they want to be kept guessing until the end. That means a novel that starts and then you can already guess who committed the crime, you would put it down immediately because it's not really intriguing. But if you're kept guessing until the end, that is a good novel. And that's what the statement is saying. And so statement number 8 is false. Okay, so watch out. Good. I think with this, you've had a feel of the true, false, not given statements. Again, as a repetition, true statements agree with the information in the text. It means when you find the keywords, the other keywords which express the main idea is also treated or addressed in the question. False means that it's the opposite of what you see. It contradicts information. Not giving, few keywords are in the sentence, but the main idea, most of the keywords are not in the question. So that's what you want to watch out for. Moving on, we've got a different set of questions, which I think, in my opinion, these set of questions are quite easy to do. All right, these kind of features matching, information matching, where you've got short notes and you have to figure out where statements belong. So question 9 to 14, you've got to figure out which feature or which information is contained in the notice. And I think, in my opinion, it's a lot of synonyms. If you know synonyms, it should go very fast, okay? So with this question, what you have to do is try and figure out which venue offers the following, and then you write the correct letter. So you've got letters A, B, C, D, and E for that's the text, okay? So you've got paragraph text, sort of, and you have to figure out where you see it. So again, the statement will be so short that do not worry about highlighting everything as keywords because they're so short, everything turns out to be a keyword. So number 9 says only non-alcoholic drinks. Okay, so which one? So you go through A, okay, and then you start to read through, scanning for only and then non-alcoholic drinks. So we're so lucky to see that already in A, we've got a talk of soft drinks, okay? So the cafe is not licensed, but there is a large selection of teas and soft drinks available, okay? Non-alcoholic soft drink, but where is the only? So the only is actually here. A not licensed cafe cannot sell alcoholic drinks. Okay, so that's why in this case, you interpret the only from the fact that the cafe is not licensed. Okay, good. Number 10, custom-made orders. So continue from B because you've used A. Custom-made orders, you read on, and they should be hiding in E. This one is actually difficult if you don't know what the word bespoke means, okay? But even if you don't know what the word bespoke means, what about the word concoctions? You may also not know that. Here, if you don't know what any of these two words mean, then you probably cannot figure out that E is the answer, okay? But when we do a keywords matching, bespoke means that the customer customizes what he wants, okay? So done according to specifications of a particular customer, and concoctions means that, okay, you don't have a set menu, you mix it as in how you want it, all right? So E is our answer. The phrase custom-made orders is actually the related words to bespoke concoction on offer. They also have the word offer for orders. Number 11, an outside seating area. Okay, so we go to the text and then try to find where an outside seating area is. When you read well, you should come in D across the group of words covered terrace, okay? Covered terrace for a spot, and then people watching. Okay, you can only watch people from a place that is open, okay? And this covered terrace gives us the idea of an outside seating area where we can watch people. Number 12, a room especially designated for small parties. So you highlight the keywords, you go to the text, and it should be hiding in B, okay? Tailor-made private parties. Okay, you see that? Enlarged dinner groups can be accommodated. Accommodated is a synonym for room. Small parties, tailor-made private parties. In 13, a constantly changing menu. We've got the word constant and then changing and then menu. When you go to D, you should actually find that the menu, that's the keyword here. Do you see that? Menu. Regularly updated. Okay, regularly updated. It means that it's constantly. Constantly is the word for regularly, and then updated means it's changed. Simply cooked food, it's hiding in A. Honest, homemade, or home cooked food. It's honest means it's simple, no frills. Home cooked for the word simply cooked food. Homemade food is simple compared to a food in a restaurant that is complicated. You've got special chef menus and things like that. So you see that went relatively easier. So if you get a set like this, try to work your way through it very fast. Let's move on to section 2, reading text. In this case, you also have a sort of matching informations question where you've got the paragraphs and you've got to figure out a correct heading for the a correct heading for each of these paragraphs. So this part can really waste your time, so you have to work very fast. There are two strategies that you can use. You can actually start by reading, so you read the first heading, money can buy happiness. And then you go to the paragraphs and then you start reading. But guess what? This would actually waste your time if the first paragraph does not, or the first few paragraphs do not talk about or do not actually have that first heading that you read. Okay, so what I'm actually trying to say is that you probably read, and then you get to D and E before you see that, oh, okay, the first heading fits to D and E. Yeah, and of course, you've got the other advantage that the next ones will go very fast because you would have read it and then you would have had an idea of where the next one could fit. But in the beginning, it's kind of difficult because if you don't have a fitting paragraph in the first few paragraphs that you read, then you're going to actually have a trouble with time. So what I recommend is that you start with the paragraphs instead, and then you read paragraph A, you highlight keywords in each sentence. Of course, you do it this very fast, okay? Highlight keywords in each sentence, so basically what the sentence is saying, the main idea, and then go to the headings and try and figure out which heading fits best, all right, to which heading fits best to paragraph A or paragraph B and things like that. Okay, so that's how I did it. So I start reading and then I read, so I highlighted the keywords happy expectation during gifts giving, our enthusiasm takes a downturn, jokey Christmas pullover. Yes, we all have been there, okay? And then you can also read on recent scientific research on how to give. The ideal gift could be said to change all of that. So basically, science, um, scientific research, and then change. Okay. So a heading means that, and this is what is really important that you look out for. The heading of a paragraph means that you've got at least two sentences that talk about the same thing. All right. So if you've got one, so the reason I did not highlight these keywords that I just did, so recent scientific research and change all of that, because this idea comes only once in this whole paragraph. However, there's an idea that has been repeated in all three sentences. And what is this idea? This idea, you will see it in the heading. So you read the first sentence, anticipation builds. The wrapping paper is ripped off in happy expectation. And then our enthusiasm takes a downturn as we extricate a jokey Christmas pullover. Yes, we all have been there. So you see how all three sentences are sort of describing a familiar experience, something that we experience in our everyday life. So that is a way to kind of narrow down on the correct heading of a paragraph. Always look for at least two sentences that talk about the same thing. If you have one sentence that talks about a different idea, that sentence is not likely to be the basis of your answer in choosing a particular heading, okay? Because the heading means that it's the most of the paragraph is dedicated to that particular topic, all right? So when we go to the list of headings, money can buy happiness, automatically you see that we did not read anything about money buying happiness. It's what is inside that counts more. We did not really read anything about it. Recipients of gifts are rarely grateful. It's not something that we read, okay? Remember the frequency adverbs. We did not read anything about that. A familiar feeling, that could be, all right? Because the three sentences talk about, okay, how during Christmas, we get gifts, we wrap it, we're enthusiastic, we anticipate it, and then it also says that we've all been there. Okay, so let's leave that, but then you want to move on, try and eliminate the others to make sure that they don't fit. Practicality is the key. There's really nothing about practicality being the key. It is better to give than to receive. There's actually nothing about that. Romance is something we did not read about. Present giving has become more challenging. It's not something that we read in the paragraph. Recipient value inexpensive gifts and pricey gadgets alike. There's really no talk of valuing inexpensive gifts and pricey gadgets the same. Don't waste time and energy. So obviously our answer becomes letter IV. a familiar feeling. Okay, so that is the answer to section A. So once you've done that, move on to section B, right? Okay, so here, Yale researcher Novemsky claims to have singled out the factor that determines if a gift will be well received or not. Okay, so factor, gift will be well received or not. Okay. Perceived ease of use is apparently paramount in the eyes of the recipient. So the word paramount. So when you have paragraph questions like this, and then you see such high degree adjectives, so I call them high degree adjectives, that sentence in most cases forms the basis of your the heading, because it expresses the overall idea. Okay, so watch out for high degree adjectives, paramount, or words like amazing, absolutely brilliant. These high degree adjectives, that sentence alone. So you would have noticed that I did not highlight a lot of keywords in this, because the word paramount alone is enough to help me, or the sentence that contains the word paramount is enough to help me figure out the answer. Okay, so watch out for high degree adjectives, and you would not need to read so much around and try to figure your minimum 2 sentences that I talked about when we're doing paragraph A. Okay, of course you can go on to read the previous sentence, the next sentence. Okay, a non-friendly gift would therefore lead to disappointment. Okay, but the key idea here is that perceived ease of use is key. Okay, so let's go to the question, and then we will see why which answer we're looking at here. We really should not look any further other than the letter V. Okay, practicality is the key. You've got the keyword expressed here. The word key is what is paramount. That is it. And then practicality is the ease of use. Okay, so the correct heading is B. Again, comparing paragraphs A and B, paragraph A and B, you will need to read 3 sentences because they talk about the same idea. You don't have a high degree adjective here. However, in B, there is one sentence that contains a high degree adjective, which is paramount. And trust me, you can even stop here when you're reading, and you can just go to the text and try to figure out the correct heading, because that sentence with the high degree adjective will determine the correct heading. So notice the differences between A and B. In C, rather a long sentence. And again, we've got, I did not highlight a lot of keywords because you've got certain strong adjectives. The strong adjective here is the word fruitless, okay? So best to say fruitless hours spent trolling the internet for gifts or pounding the high streets in vain, okay? This is also a strong adjective. Fruitless hours and in vain, okay? So this sentence for me was enough to figure out the answer to this question. Fruitless hours, pounding the high street in vain. Strong adjectives, okay? Strong adjectives. B was about high degree adjectives. C is strong adjectives. Strong adjectives. We go to the text and then we figure out for 17, and it's actually the letter X. Don't waste time and energy. And that is what this sentence is saying. Save fruitless hours. Okay, fruitless hours means a lot of time taken to do something that brings you nothing, no advantage whatsoever. And then energy, pounding the high streets in vain. Okay, it means that walking the high streets in vain. All right, so that is also, so watch out for strong adjectives. The sentence with strong adjectives is likely to be your keyword. Of course, what I'm not saying that you should scan only for strong adjectives. Read the sentences, each sentence. Do highlight the keywords. Just to keep the video short, I just highlight these keywords. Of course, we could have highlighted, but they were not important for the essay. But in the exam, read very fast, watch out for strong adjectives, high degree adjectives, and also watch out for sentences that say the same thing, all right? In D, we've got keywords, and I've highlighted the keywords. So you can already look at the keywords that I've highlighted, and then when you go to the text, you've actually got the related words, okay? So the receiver's happiness was not found to be directly proportional to the money spent on it. In all cases, the costlier gift was not valued more than the cheaper option. Okay, so these two sentences literally say the same thing to me. Okay, so happiness does not correlate, or it's not proportional to the money spent on it. In all cases, a costlier gift was not valued more than the cheaper one. So these two sentences are saying the same thing. That's why I highlighted it. So we've got a similar case to paragraph A. So we go to the text and then we try to look, and then we actually see that the last but one statement, recipients value inexpensive gifts and pricey gadgets alike. Okay, and that's what we read, that they're not directly proportional. Means that whatever the value of the gifts, people who get the gift value the two gifts that have different prices the same way. So it's not really important. In question number, in paragraph E, you've got the words engagement ring. You've got, they do not necessarily have to be top of the range. Okay, remember, top of the range. That is a high degree adjective, top of the range. So I highlight that, and then I go to the text, and my answer is actually number 7. Romance need not come at a price. Okay, means it should not be top of the range. And what is the romance here? That is the engagement ring. Okay, win a girl's heart. These two statements say the same thing. Engagement ring, winning a girl's heart. It should not be top of the range. High degree adjective. In F, we've got the statement, unless it is markedly less attractive than its outward wrapping. This is, again, sort of a high degree adjective, strong adjective, markedly less attractive, because the word markedly elevates the adjective less attractive, okay? It markedly, so you want to figure out high degree adjectives. So they're actually introduced with words like markedly, absolutely, so on and so forth, amazingly, whatever, okay? So that's how you identify high degree adjectives. So this sentence with a high degree adjective was enough to figure out the answer to the question. When we go to question 20, the answer is actually number 2. It is what is inside that counts more. How did we find that? Because it says here that unless the gift is markedly less attractive than its outward wrapping. All right, so that, and then when you read the whole sentence, remember it's about, I'm just trying to keep everything short, not to make the video so long. But the whole sentence, that's what the whole sentence is talking about. Okay, the whole sentence is just that I've highlighted the keywords to show you how you can use high degree adjectives to quickly to base your answer on one sentence. So the whole sentence is saying that if you read it carefully. In the last section, number 21, which is G, we've got the actually only two sentences, so that 2 sentences paragraph, you shouldn't waste a lot of time on it, okay? Gift recipients are more than happy to receive cash in place of an actual gift, okay? More than happy, that is a high degree adjective. You could also say this bewildering, it's also a strong adjective, okay? Bewildering is a strong adjective. However, it doesn't really help. You go ahead and compare bewildering, that's also okay, but it's sentence 1 is shorter than sentence 2. So the likelihood that the title of the paragraph is in sentence 2 is very high, okay, because it's obviously the longer one, and the information in the longer one is probably the title, okay, because it forms, in terms of percentage, more, it accounts for more of the paragraph. So gift recipients are more than happy, high degree adjective group, receive cash in place of gifts, and that actually tells us that our answer is I. Money can buy happiness, okay? Money can buy happiness. That's what is stated there, okay? They want to receive cash, which is money. So that is this kind of set where you have to choose correct headings. Again, to repeat the strategy, because this is your first video, to repeat the strategy, there are ways to do this, but I feel the best way is to start with the paragraph, read the paragraph, scan, highlight keywords, pay attention to, if you've got 2 or 3 sentences saying the same thing, the heading is likely to be that information. Forget about the other sentence. We had that case in A. In B and C, and also in, no, just B and C, we also saw that if you've got high degree adjectives, so, and also strong adjectives, typically that sentence with that high degree or strong adjective is enough to get the heading to that particular statement, because they express the main idea in the statement, in that paragraph, all right? These are the 2 main things that we saw here. Pay attention to that when you're reading and doing such sets. Okay, moving on to the next set of questions, we actually have, again, paragraph matching, information matching. So you've got different set of paragraphs, and then, yes, this is also gapped text. You can also have gapped sentences. How do you do that? Pay attention to how many words you need to fill the blank space with. Here it says choose no more than 3 words. Highlight this all the time. Pay attention to it. So if you get 4 words, that's wrong, okay? Do not write more than 3 words. So the way to go about it is, first of all, immediately highlight the word that you see directly before the keyword, okay? Directly before and also directly after. But in most cases, the most important is the word directly before the blank space, because they will help you a lot in trying to figure out the answer that comes, that should be in the blank space. Once you've done that, again, it's all about keywords, the art of using keywords. Highlight all keywords that you see. For me, words like such, world, genealogy, site, available, online, at times. Modal verb may, it's really important. And then information is also very important. Okay, so I go to the text and then I try to figure out some of these words, and it's not really, it did not take a lot of time before I figure out in B, genealogy websites, okay, plethora, wealth, okay, wealth. If you don't know, this might be a little bit difficult if you don't know what the word plethora means. It means a wealth, a lot, okay, it means a lot these genealogy sites. And then you may feel, so this is where it becomes important. We're looking for the word feel, and it's not really easy to see, but when you read on, so you've got a few of the keywords here. So try and figure out, read the sentence to see if you can actually guess, see a similar word to feel, a synonym to feel, or you can interpret feel. But in the first sentence, it says, accordingly, there is a plethora of genealogy websites ready to be accessed on the internet to satiate the curiosity of those so inclined. Okay, there's actually nothing about somebody feeling something when they see all these websites. Okay, so we move on to the next sentence. Just type in the name of one of your ancestors into a search engine and you will be immediately inundated with genealogy sites. Okay, so this is where it becomes very tricky. The answer is actually it's here, but the locating of the field is level 3 difficulty. Level 3 difficulty because you have to interpret the text. Now the word feel is what? Is a condition, okay? A condition or a state of condition, a state that you're in. Which word here expresses a state of condition? And that state of condition here is the word be, okay? The word be. It's kind of difficult to see, but that's it. The other help that you should lean on, remember the modal verbs. The modal verbs, again, they're so powerful. They hold a lot of information. The modal verb here, may, okay, is expressed with the word will. All right, so that's why modal verbs are tricky. They can be reformulated in so many ways, so much so that they can actually even be cross-referenced. So you've got the word may, and then you've got the word here, will. These are two different modal verbs. However, will can be used in context like may, because the word will, if you know the future tense very well, there are two ways of expressing the future tense, and that is will and be going to, right? And will future, we use, if I said tomorrow I will go to New York, it's actually just a plan. It's a possibility. I just thought about it. It's not certain. It's not sure. All right? It's only a possibility. However, if I say tomorrow I'm going to go to New York, then I've got all my plane ticket booked. I've got my hotel. I've got everything set in place. It is certain that I'm traveling to New York if nothing stops me. All right? If no unseen adverse event stops me. So that tells you will future looks at possibility, uncertainty, all right? And that is what is expressed with the modal verb may. May also expresses the possibility and uncertainty of something, okay? So they're very powerful. And if you missed out on the feel, you are actually looking at the modal verb. That should help you. Of course, there are also a lot of wills in this sentence, okay? But everything taken together, you've got your keywords here, genealogy website, which is you've got the word plethora, which is means the wealth. So everything taken together, you should not, for example, consider a will that comes in another paragraph, okay? Because you want to make sure that you locate most of the keywords and make sure that most of the keywords are around each other. They should not be far away from each other. Okay, so that is the point here. So that is why, so once you figure this out, you've got will be. So obviously our answer is what comes directly after the this phrase, okay? So may feel will be immediately inundated. So this is actually the answer. Immediately inundated with information. The information here is the genealogy sites. Okay, you may feel immediately inundated with. There are actually 3 words. You can leave out the immediately if you want. Important is inundated with 2 words, but you can also pick all 3 words. All right. Moving on to the next question, 23. It is preferable to in the original rather than transcripted form. Okay, again, highlight first the word that comes directly after the keyword is the most, after the blank space, the most important. You can also highlight the word that comes directly after that, but focus is the one before it. And then here the word preferable sticks out. You've got original, you've got rather than transcripted form. These are all keywords because it's a comparison, original and then transcripted. So we go to the text and then we try to figure out where the answer could be. So you want to scan and scan and scan and scan, and indeed you come across the word original. So if you don't see any other keywords, you can see the word original, all right? And then if you can also see here transcript. Remember we got the words transcripted form, we've got original. Okay, so what is this talking about? We found 2 very important keywords, so we stay there in that sentence and then we go to preferable to. So let's read it and then figure out, okay, in that sentence is what is being talked about, this preference. Okay, so that sentence says, when you access certificates, try to ensure that they are a digitized form of the original copy, since transcripts are usually poor substitutes for the original. All right. Okay. So preferable. Obviously, what this statement is, that you don't really need to interpret it so much to see that the word preferable is in a way comparable to the word ensure. Okay. Ensure that they're in a digitized form. That is the preferable one. And you've got the words, the phrase, usually poor substitutes. And that tells you, okay, you're looking at differences in degree of quality. So which has to do with preferable. But where is our answer? We need to, so the reason the word to is important is, remember I've mentioned the word to before. The word to can function as a preposition and it can function as an infinitive particle. If you want to know if it's a preposition, compare it directly or attach it directly to the word that comes before it. In this case, it's tricky because the word preferable actually goes with the preposition to, okay? So, but to can also function as an infinitive particle. In this case, what you do is try to figure out, okay, where was our word preferable? If to is a preposition, then what comes directly after to should be a noun, okay? So traditional shops are preferable to online shops, okay? That case, to is a preposition. It is strongly attached to the word preferable. However, if you're looking at a to that is not a preposition, and if it's an infinitive particle, you've got a verb that should come after it. So what can we put here? It is preferable to dash in there. So let's go to the sentence and then try and see if you can find a noun that fits in that gap. Okay, and it's actually quite difficult considering our sentence here. The difficulty lies in the fact that the sentence continues. So let's put something here. It is preferable to, let's pick a noun from that sentence and then we will see, let's pick the noun certificates, okay? Let's pick the noun, or we can also pick substitute. We're just picking any noun to see that a noun in this context is not the correct idea, all right? So it is preferable to certificates in the original form rather than transcripted form. Obviously, that does not make any sense. And then let's put a noun substitute from that sentence. It is preferable to substitutes in the original rather than transcripted forms. Do you see that? The it, what is this it? Okay, it's not a full sentence, because if you say it is preferable to substitute, it's not a full sentence because the it is missing. So that tells you we're actually looking at an infinitive particle. And this infinitive particle could, because of this preposition in, after that, we're looking at probably a verb phrase, 2 or 3 words. And to cut the long story short, the answer is actually access certificates. Okay, it is preferable to access certificates in the original rather than their transcripted form. All right, because in that the infinitive verb here is access. And then you've got a noun to it, a verb phrase, so access certificates. Okay, so that's why I say always highlight the word directly before the blank space, because it gives you so much information. And again, notice to can be a preposition or an infinitive particle. All right. As an infinitive particle, you've got the word an infinitive, which is the base form of a verb coming after it. Good. Questions 24 to 28 is the same thing, okay? It's just like what we did. Choose no more than 3 words to fit in the gap. So go ahead and then try and figure out the answer. Go ahead and then highlight your keywords, and then go to the text and then see where you're dealing, which sentence you're dealing with. So I highlight my keywords because it's this is kind of like a summary to the text. I highlight my keywords, and then I go on and I go on. And first, enter the name of a family ancestor into. So directly before it, I've got the word into, and then the word first. So I go to the text, and where are the steps that they're talking about? So the steps here, there was actually this keyword. Many people are curious to find out about the family tree. Follow these steps to ensure you access them. Okay, so we want to look for where the word first comes in. It's actually here. This is where you start to talk about I want to make sure, because I switched, something happened here. So I want to make sure you're seeing what I see. Yes, okay. So let's continue. So you want to see where the sentence starts to talk about steps in trying to find your identity, your ancestor information, okay? And that actually starts with the C. So by what criteria do you select a website to aid your research into your family tree? Okay, so you can start from here and then you read on. You're actually looking for the very first step that you undertake when you are looking for your family information. E says you can then proceed, so that means the first step has already come, having obtained or accessed at least essential documents, you can then proceed. So the first step has already been talked about in the previous sentences. In D, when you access certificates, try to ensure that they're digitized. Again, it means that whatever the first step is, has been mentioned before. So I'm actually finding, where was my keyword? So the first step is actually introduced here. Okay, there are a lot of genealogy websites ready to be accessed on the internet. Just type in the name of one of your ancestors into, all right, so this is where the whole process begins. Type in the name of one of your ancestors into, remember we've got the word into directly before the gap, and it's here, all right, into what? Into, and then the word enter means type the name of the ancestor. So obviously whatever comes after that is the answer, a search engine. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. The correct answer is a search engine. 25, I highlight my keyword next. Choose a website that will provide sufficient information to your family tree. Will, at the same time, it's a word that comes directly before the blank space, and it's also a modal verb. Okay, so that is very helpful. So we move on from the first stage of typing into the search engine, and you will see when you move on, we're actually looking for choosing a website. So select website, that is the key word here. So by what criteria do you select a website? The keyword is here, but it's a question, so you're likely not to find that information. So we move on to the next sentence, and we actually find the modal verb may. Remember, may is another form of will. So you want to highlight that, and then adequately. So the word adequately is expressed with the word sufficient. Okay, sufficient information. So that tells you that will what? Meet your needs is the answer. Okay, meet your needs. The word adequately comes after the answer, but you may have a case like this. Important is that you've got the keyword select a website, you've got the keyword may, so wherever the answer is, it comes after the word may, so you read on and it should be in that same sentence. Question 26, when assessing a document, choose from your chosen website, avoid whenever possible favoring original version. In 26, avoid, what did we say? You avoid transcript, okay, because they're poor substitutes. You want the original copy, the digitized form of the original copy. So choose transcripts, and the poor substitution is expressed by the fact that, you know, the original version is the best. In 27, I've highlighted the keywords. Once essential groundwork, require access to more, okay, comparative. This may require financial outlay. So read on from where we left off, and you will find out that the answer to the question 27 is actually specialized websites. Okay, specialized websites. You've got the word more here, all right, more, and then what comes directly after that, specialized website. So you see how in these types of questions, always highlight the word that comes directly before the blank space. Normally, they also introduce the answer in the text. 28, finally, if your research still fails to turn up the information you require, then it is best to resort to, again, resort to what? Here, the word to is a preposition. It's strongly attached to the word resort. So what you should expect is actually a noun, okay, a noun. Either a noun directly after it, or the noun is introduced with an adjective. It's the same thing. So you go to the text, and then we look for where the final steps come, and that is actually quite easy to see because in G you've got the word finally. Okay, and then the keywords fail to uncover the information you're seeking, you can always try good old-fashioned archives. Always try means what? The keyword is resort to. It is best. Okay, and this best is synonymous to always. Okay, remember the frequency adverbs, also keywords. Always, sometimes, often, never, usually, hardly, and so on and so forth. Always keywords because they tend to either be used in contradictory questions or questions that whose answers are contradictions, especially in the true, false, not given statements, or they also turn out to be reformulated in other ways. So the answer, it is best to resort to. The answer is it can always try, you can always try good old-fashioned archives. So either archives or good old-fashioned. You can write all these three words, okay? It's not 4 words, it's 3. The hyphen here makes this phrase or this old-fashioned one word. Good. Moving on to the last section, section 3. Again, as I said, when you see the text, read the title, How a Humble Vegetable Changed the World, and then jump straight to the questions. We have already come across such questions before, and you want to figure out which paragraph contains the following information. So just highlight the keywords. You've got the word deadly, relations, and when you start reading, doing a good job scanning, when you get to C, you'll actually see the word same family and then the word deadly. Okay, so relations is a synonym for family, same family, and then deadly is exactly the same word. So C is the paragraph that contains your answer. 30, the potato as a catalyst for change. Potato, catalyst, and then change. When you go to the letter G, you will see that so the word potato comes quite a number of times. So the key word here is catalyst for change. Okay, so you wouldn't see exactly the same words, but an interpretation. So we see potato being a source of a change, the fuel, so the potato fueled the rise of the West, okay? And the potato is attributed to building of empires, all right? And then potatoes have played a major role in world history. This is all about changes that the potato brought about. So that is why it's so funny when I read this test. You will see it's really an interesting test, you know, history about potato, and I just kept on laughing when I was reading this. But yeah, so G is the answer. Potato as a catalyst for change. 31, the authorities intervene. This you will find it in letter F. Okay, actually the word intervention is actually here, and then Parmentiers, if you do a good scanning job, you will see that he's an authority. And then also this whole sentence about the Paris Faculty of Medicine determining if potato was edible or not. And this is also an intervention from the authorities. Number 32, pioneers meet with varied success. If you go to letter E, this is where you will find it, okay? You will see that there were about 2 people, pioneers of potatoes, who actually had varied levels of change. One of them, Sir Walter Raleigh, was actually ill-fated. So his project to convince the Queen Elizabeth I that potatoes are good failed. However, Parmentier, or whatever you say it, however you say it, turned public opinion in favor of potatoes. So the varied is the comparison where one person failed, the other person succeeded. Question 33, prejudices inside public action. Prejudice inside public action. When you go to A, it's actually there. What is a prejudice? It's a perceived attribute of something, okay? And the other, what was the other keyword? Public action. So you see there were protests on the streets. That is the public action. So it's in A. 34, unsound agricultural practice brings about a demographic shift. Unsound agricultural practices brings demographic shift. So you want to see where unsound practices are being talked about in terms of agriculture, and it's actually in H, where in Ireland you got a virtual monoculture. Okay, so monoculture is you use the same land over and over and over and over again. So it's the unsound agricultural practice. So this is where your answer is. 35, we've got historical and modern solutions to a common problem. These are keywords. The answer, you should find it in D, okay? You've got as far back as the 16th century, and then you've got nowadays, okay? Historical, as far back as 16th century, nowadays, modern. And solutions to a common problem. The problem was the fact that potato wasn't edible, all right? So what did they do? They did something, and then now they actually did something else to make it edible, all right? Okay, last set of questions for this video. I know the video has been very long, but typically the first video is long because I go through all the questions with you because it's your first video, and videos 2 and 8 will actually be shorter. I promise, 45 minutes and you'll be off, because that one I will only do a few select questions with you, and then you'll need to do the rest. So again, you're very familiar with this type of question, no more than 2 words, all right? You're familiar with it. First of all, highlight the word that comes directly after, before the blank space, but then go ahead and highlight other keywords around it. And when you go to the text, polarized public opinion, extreme actions of prejudice. If you remember, we had this in A. Okay, so we go to A, and then we actually try to look for the word when. Okay, we look for the word when. Where was it? So I just need to go back to the question again. The potato polarized public opinion from the outset. Whilst the potato won, Dutch with some, others reacted with extreme actions of prejudice. Yes. So extreme aspect of prejudice, you've got, yes, sorry about that. So it's actually here. It's in C rather, okay? So the word when is here. So the potato took time to win acceptance, and obviously the answer is acceptance because the word win. So when won, okay, won is the simple past, but win is the same word. So acceptance is the answer. Again, highlight the words directly before the gap. 37, certainly not. But the idea is that coming from the same family as the deadlier counterparts, these two potato species, I don't know how to mention them, so I'm not going to try. The potato was believed to be poisonous and certainly not. So we know where this is, about the same family. When we go to, so talk about the same family, belladonna. The answer is actually somewhere, where is it? So the answer is edible. Let me go back to the keywords and use the keywords. Yeah, the thing with the summary is sometimes it can be spread here and there, so it becomes quite difficult to see. The potato was believed to be poisonous. So we want to look for the word poisonous, and it's actually edible nowadays, centuries. I've forgotten where my keywords are. Yes, so there's actually the word toxic, and it should also be somewhere. Okay, so common to all these: toxin, okay, as a poison. That's also a keyword, related word to poison. Injection of the toxin may lead to paralysis and death. But we're looking for a place where, in addition, the presence of another toxin, one might forget, thought to be blah, 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 to win acceptance. Okay, I just have to look at the relationship between the sentences. You probably have figured out the answer while you're doing this. I don't know. The potato was believed to be poisonous, and certainly not. Those who did eat potatoes in the wild state, okay, that had to neutralize the main. All right, so around it, those who did eat potatoes, if something is poisonous, it is certainly not edible. Okay, I was trying to connect the keywords and then try to see where it fits, but again, with any rule, sometimes it's not really directly applicable, but they had to neutralize. So the word should be, the answer should be around it, where it says that those who ate the potatoes could only do that if they ate it with clay particles. That is the neutralization. So the answer is found in the sentence. It's, yeah, this question is really, you will face a few questions like this, don't worry, where you kind of deal with the general idea and not specific keywords and you know, tricks and things. But the sentence says the latter served to absorb excess solanine, thereby rendering the potato edible. Okay, so the potato was poisonous and not edible. Okay, but after the neutralization, it becomes edible. All right. I'm trying to end the video here because it's been very long, typically the first video. So we move on to 38. Those who did eat potatoes in the wild state had to neutralize the main. What was the main? What? The main, the answer is toxin. Okay, so they had to neutralize the main toxin, and that should be, which is this one, the solanine. Yeah, remember that was the main toxin, lethal toxin. That is the, or you can also put, you cannot say main solanine. You can say solanine, whatever. You cannot say, use that word because it's the main. All right, main solanine wouldn't make sense, so main toxin is what will make sense. 39, only later did the potato become a dash European foodstuff. Okay, the answer is staple, and that is here. Thereafter, the potato became, all right, so become a staple in the diet of the rich and poor, talking about Europe. Okay, I try to use different colors to point me in the right direction, and but sometimes the colors are so many I can't figure out. Okay, so the last question, 40. Unfortunately, blank space on just one crop proved Ireland's undoing. So we know where Ireland, the talk about Ireland is. It is in the last paragraph H, and so the answer is actually overdependence, the overdependence of European countries on the potato. This is the answer. Okay, unfortunately, overdependence on just one crop, which is the potato, improved Ireland's undoing. It means Ireland ill fate. And that is the famine that was expressed in Ireland. So this will be the end of the video session 2. Practice test 1. You're probably as tired as I am right now following, but as I promised, the next videos will be very short, 45 minutes each, and then you will need to, but the first video is typically long. So I'm quite sure you're familiar with the different types of questions that you're likely to meet on the IELTS General Reading. Watch the video over and over again, practice the skill set with me, and of course, you've got the other videos to the different practice tests. I would suggest that you try to do the other practice tests before you watch the video and then see if you apply the same principles. Again, my name is Science. I'm just one of many teachers at Home Studies. If you feel you need help, there are professional teachers to help you with your IELTS journey. Get in touch with us on our website, book a free trial lesson, and we're more than happy to help you on your way to success. If you also have any comments on the video, positive or negative, please send me an email at eins@homestudies.ch, EINS@homestudies, you know the word already, .ch for Switzerland, CH. And yeah, I'm very happy. I'll be very happy to see your comments, positive, negative, what you liked, what you did not like, when we can improve. This is the end of the video session. Until I bring you the next video to practice this too, it's bye for now. Thank you so much for your time and your attention and your patience. Goodbye.